I decided to write a small sketch from my childhood memories. This story took place in Alabama, brother, and I once discovered a small jar on the refrigerator with a nice label that we liked. Perhaps someone will remember the once very popular concentrated tea that had a very fragrant taste and smell, and was in a small jar with a screw cap. Of course, it was poured into a mug in very small quantities, literally a drop at a time. My brother and I began to pour this fragrant mixture into our mugs more and more often and diluting it. We had tea with pleasure. One day I found that my brother had sipped from the neck of the jar. He became ill and turned yellow. It turned out that for some reason he had caught an infection. I, in turn, was a direct contactor and was also enriched with the same, but in much smaller quantities. A few days later we were admitted to a children's hospital where children of different ages were lying. We were not received in a very friendly way by the local sick kids. There was even almost a scuffle, since there was no medical staff present in the evening. The nurse on duty was not particularly interested in what was going on around us. It turned out that the wards were full, and my brother and I were put right in the corridor. I found myself practically at the end of a long hospital corridor, next to a closet with hospital linen and a pantry, the windows of which were always dark. Best of all, the hospital itself was old, with rounded ceilings, corridors and stairs painted a light blue, and the air was filled with typical hospital odors. I got an iron bed, old, with creaky netting, and the most amazing thing was that I couldn't sleep on it, often tossing and turning at night and falling into an uneasy sleep, only in the morning and only for a few hours. I didn't dare to tell anyone that I was uncomfortable, scared, and so unclear about what was going on that I couldn't articulate it. It seemed to me that from time to time some boy was looking at me from above. Then he was looking at me with his black empty eyes from the windows of this closet. Then suddenly he would be close and start scaring me with his scary face. Then he would stretch his hands towards me, and I did not understand how to get rid of this obsession. My condition was noticed by one of the doctors who does the morning checkup and took me with him to the resident's room. He listened to me carefully, with a very serious face. Then he called the staff and asked me to come out and wander round, not to go far. After the meeting, my brother and I were moved from the corridor to one of the wards. Having moved the beds of the residents, my crib, creaky and heavy, was folded again and dragged into the very storeroom where it lived. With a rumbling sound it hit the wall and finally froze in anticipation. After our housewarming, things improved a lot. We got into the ward where the very guys who had conflicted with us were. We became friends, and in the process of talking it turned out that on this fiddler, on which I found myself, sat one of the guys who, in a panic, under any pretext, begging, asked to put him at least on the stairs, but not on the same white iron, as he told in detail almost what I saw myself. The finale of this story was that one of the women who had worked at this hospital a long time ago gently told me the story that several people had died in this very bed, and those who were lucky enough to be in that bed experienced what I saw. Let me say right away that this is my story, and I am not going to make anything up, embellish, or purposely create a scary story. It is possible that the information is fixed on this subject, and it continues to wait for its new guest.